Indiana News Desk is made possible in part by the following: IU Health Southern Indiana physicians, primary care and specialty care providers now accepting new patients in Bloomington and throughout South Central Indiana. SIphysicians.org, IU Center for Applied Cybersecurity Research, working to improve cybersecurity and provide policy guidance through partnerships with industry, government, and academia.
Smithville Fiber, the Gigacity Company, fiber internet, HD, and digital IPTV in Southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com.
And by WTIU members. Thank you.
Coming up on Indiana News Desk. Despite intense opposition urging him to veto it, the governor this week penned his signature on a bill that bars women from having abortion solely because of a fetus's potential disability.
When we're using fear and misinformation to make judgments about the worth of a life, then to me that's prejudice.
It's hard to find an adjective that truly describes just how bad this is going to get.
And we run through a slew of bills the governor signed into law this week, including comprehensive drug legislation.
But one of the things that we recognize is that we cannot just arrest our way out of this problem.
And a community in mourning.
We really don't know him as Deputy Kuntz. We know him as Carl.
A remembrance for Deputy Carl Kuntz, the officer from Howard County who was shot and killed Sunday while attempting to serve a warrant. Those stories, plus the latest news headlines from across the state, right now on Indiana News Desk. Welcome to Indiana News Desk. I'm Joe Wren. Indiana is once again at the center of a heated national debate after Governor Mike Pence signed a controversial abortion bill yesterday. The wide-ranging legislation prohibits abortions under certain conditions and requires aborted fetuses to be buried or cremated. This isn't a bill that was split along party lines. Some Republicans spoke out against the legislation and how it moved through the State House. Pence said in a statement the legislation protects the unborn while allowing an exception for the life of the mother. As Barbara Brosier reports, while some tout the bill as a way to prevent discrimination, opponents worry about the potential health and legal ramifications.
The happiness on this 8-year-old's face reflects the impact he has on his family's life.
If you talk to most families who have a child with Down syndrome, they'll tell you that this child has become their greatest joy, right, and is a great blessing in their lives.
Tommy is the youngest of 5 children and the only one living with Down syndrome. But to Mary O'Callahan, he's just like the rest of her kids. That's why she's in favor of House Enrolled Act 1337, which, among other things, bans abortion solely because of the fetus's race, sex, or disability.
There's something probably about the immediacy, right, of holding this sweet baby in my arms. You're so beautiful. And I was really, frankly, heartbroken to contemplate the enormous loss of lives of children who look just like him.
O'Callahan has a PhD in developmental psychology and testified at the State House in favor of the abortion ban earlier this year. She believes allowing people to abort fetuses because of disabilities is a form of discrimination.
I don't think we as a society want to be in the position of making statements about the relative value of one life versus another. And I don't think that was the original intent of Roe v. Wade.
While supporters of the bill say it will prevent discrimination, opponents argue it does the opposite.
It is more likely in case of race and sex bans that pregnant people of color are the ones who will be most targeted by these bans because it is those stereotypes against those communities that will play out in the doctor's office.
Dozens of women from the grassroots group Indie Feminists delivered petitions to the State House last week, asking Governor Mike Pence to veto the legislation. They're unhappy with how, among other things, legislators handled the issue. After a Senate bill focusing on the abortion ban failed to get a hearing in the House, lawmakers added the measure to a House bill focusing on the disposal of fetal remains.
We're dealing with mandates that rather than supporting people at a time when they most need accurate information, compassionate support, are designed to shame, demean, coerce, for no reason at all other than to attempt to discourage people from accessing what is a safe and legal procedure.
Legal experts say Indiana's abortion law will be among the most restrictive in the country. It's part of a trend that started a few years ago when there was a broad shift to Republican-controlled state legislatures. And they say Indiana's bill has the potential to create a chilling effect.
If because you're worried you'll be prosecuted, even when you're doing the right thing, even when you're within the law, if the concern is the law could be interpreted, it's susceptible to different understandings, and a court might interpret it differently and subject you to liability, that's a reason to strike a law down.
There are also questions about how the legislation will be enforced. It would require proof that a woman sought an abortion for one of the prohibited reasons, something that could be hard to demonstrate.
In all pregnancies, there's a risk to the woman's health. So a woman could always say, I'm choosing an abortion because of the risk to my health. And as a constitutional matter, you cannot trade off one person's health for another.
For Indiana News Desk, I'm Barbara Brozier.
Joining us now is Dawn Johnson. She's a professor at the Maurer School of Law. She has worked closely with reproductive rights during her career, including time with the ACLU. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
So now, this law prevents mothers from having abortions based on sex, race, or disability. What are some of the other restrictions in this bill?
Well, I do think that list of banned reasons is the part that strikes at the core of Roe versus Wade, as the Supreme Court has reaffirmed it. But in the context of the whole starting point, Indiana is already one of the most restrictive states in the country in terms of restricting access to abortion. This law, in addition to the ban on those reasons, has a slew of other restrictions that are trap laws, admitting privileges requirements, requirements that fetal and embryonic tissue be disposed of, whether it's from an abortion or a miscarriage, by burial or internment, rather than the traditional methods. And so it's requiring the doctor to offer the woman to listen to the heartbeat, view an ultrasound, a whole slew of restrictions, a whole kitchen sink really, on top of the restrictions we already have. Though I do want to say the reasons ban is really what strikes at the core of Roe and makes it clear, as a constitutional law professor, you know, that's what I see as seeking to really overrule the core of the liberty right that's in the Constitution.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask about. Planned Parenthood of Indiana and Kentucky say they're outraged and alarmed by the law. Yes. They plan to file a lawsuit to block it. What do you think?
Well, there's no question that many of these provisions are unconstitutional, especially, and here I'd like to just put my constitutional law professor hat on for a moment and explain that the Constitution protects the right of individual liberty in private, personal decision-making about highly important matters. So that includes the right to decide when and whether to have a children based on your own consultation with your doctor, your loved ones, your family members, whether or not to use contraception. Earlier in our history, the government would sterilize forcibly certain people. Some countries forced women to have abortions. Here, procreative liberty is protected in the Constitution, and it's the same provision that protects the right to marry and the right to have sexual intimacy with people you love, regardless of whether you're the same or different sex. So that's the liberty is what this strikes at the core of, the liberty of private personal decision making.
Well, thank you very much for being here today. Appreciate you
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Governor Mike Pence signed many bills into law this week. Let's review some of the other legislation that will be affecting Hoosiers. Around $1 billion will officially be going towards Indiana roads. The two-year plan will funnel money to state and local roads through local income tax reserves, the state's budget surplus, and a tax on gasoline. The task force will be looking at long-term solutions. Pence signed a bill scrapping the I-STEP test. A 23-person committee will decide what the next test looks like. That committee will mostly be made up of educators, lawmakers, and agency heads. Once the group is finalized, they will work on compiling a list of recommendations. Pence signed an overhaul of the BMV's fee structure. The legislation is years in the making. It aims to simplify the registration process. 163 different fees will be reduced or eliminated. Pence signed 13 bills he says will create more opportunities for Indiana's military service members and veterans. The new laws eliminate the maximum age requirement for veterans seeking to join police or fire departments. They also expand Medicaid to active duty National Guard members, create more property tax deductions for disabled vets, and broaden the Military Relief Fund, a program that helps veterans pay for food, housing, utility, transportation, and medical bills. Funding is guaranteed for the 3 regions selected as part of the Regional Cities Initiative. Pence codified the program that is aimed toward generating economic development throughout Northeast, North Central, and Southwest Indiana. Local governments are not able to bar stores from using plastic bags. Pence signed into law an act that prohibits local restrictions on bags, boxes, or cups. Before the bill was signed, a Bloomington group was trying to pass a plastic bag ban ordinance. And the governor also penned his signature this week on a slew of bills aimed at curbing drug abuse in Indiana. The bills are meant to work together in harmony to get the state's drug epidemic under control. Sarah Whitmire has the story.
Thank you for choosing Hope Academy, the Recovery High School at Fairbanks, as the location for the signing of 4 bills that will allow Hoosiers to receive the treatment they need for addiction, to place more emphasis on prevention and treatment, and to expand the availability of Narcan.
The Hope Academy in Indianapolis works with teens fighting to overcome addiction. Nearly a quarter of Indiana teenagers admit to using prescriptions for something other than their intended use. Governor Pence used the school as a stage to sign the state's new drug laws.
I really do believe that the 3-legged stool of confronting drug abuse and addiction in our state is tougher law enforcement on those that are profiting from the sale of these drugs to our kids. It's more widely available treatment options for Hoosiers that are caught up in the web of addiction. And it's a renewed effort at intervening in the lives of young people and giving them the tools and the encouragement to make better choices in their lives. It is that enforcement, treatment, and prevention combination that we think holds the greatest hope for reversing this trend in our state and, frankly, all across this country.
7 bills the governor signed Monday make up the so-called 3-legged stool. Senate Bills 80 and 161 and House Bill 1157 all have to do with limiting who can purchase ephedrine and pseudoephedrine. Those are key ingredients in the manufacturing of methamphetamines. Senate Bill 187 requires the State Department of Health to issue a standing order for naloxone. That's the heroin antidote, also known as Narcan. Senate Bill 271 essentially formalizes the governor's task force that he established in the fall. The group is charged with prevention, treatment, and enforcement. Senate Bill 297 requires Medicaid to provide more help to inpatient detox. And House Bill 1235 sets tougher sentences for drug-dealing felony offenses, including meth or heroin. The governor gave special thanks to Justin Phillips. Phillips lost her son, Aaron, to a heroin overdose and founded the group Overdose Lifeline, which works to eliminate the stigma surrounding drug addiction.
We're so far behind the 8 ball with the opioid epidemic that I don't think we can say anyone is more important than the other, honestly, because prevention clearly is important because we need to stop it from happening anymore. But we have all these people who are suffering from the addiction to the opioids that we have to help in order to stop the continuation of the deaths.
Phillips is leading the push to raise awareness. The day after Pence signed the drug laws into effect, Phillips was in Greenfield, training police officers on how to administer naloxone.
In a lot of communities, law enforcement is the first responder before EMS, and so we just want to save those few precious moments to help save the life of the individual overdosing.
You hear more and more calls of heroin overdoses every day that you work on the radio or coming from the radio, and it gets a little frustrating.
But still, Phillips says there's progress. When Aaron died 2.5 years ago, she says no one would even have a conversation about drug addiction. For Indiana News Desk, I'm Sarah Whitmire.
Now, Governor Pence didn't sign everything that came his way. He vetoed a bill that would have required the Indiana Department of Environmental Management to have the General Assembly review any rules stricter than the national EPA standards. Pence cited the need to enhance public trust in state agencies as a reason for the veto. Pence vetoed a measure that would have declared private university police departments public agencies. At the same time, the measure would only require them to disclose records about people they arrest or put in jail. Pence said in a statement that limiting access to private university police records is a disservice to the public, so he vetoed the bill. And that's it from the State House for now, but we'll continue following the legislature in the coming weeks. Coming up on Indiana News Desk, we'll remember the Howard County deputy who lost his life serving his community. And the body of a missing toddler is found in Owen County, and police have a suspect in custody, but they say their investigation is far from over. These stories and more right here on Indiana News Desk.
Nature takes you places where you've never gone before.
It's watching something that's actually happened.
Nature sure draw me in the story.
Just their power and their grace.
You know, it was just so beautiful to watch them.
The movement and just watching the body and watching the chase.
Like this huge, lush, vibrant watercolor.
James.
There was such a shot of underneath watching these elephants swim in this deep water.
I had no idea even they could swim like that.
I saw that one monkey pulling on this one monkey's tail, and the monkey like, man, what you doing? What you doing?
It's like the theater of the wild or something.
7 billion trillion animals living on one planet.
It's like more colorful than than you think life can possibly be.
Somewhere between the mystique and the beauty of it is reason enough to sit down and watch.
That's life, and that's nature.
Welcome back to Indiana News Desk. A sad week across the state as family, friends, and Hoosiers remember 27-year-old Howard County Deputy Carl Kuntz. He was shot and killed Sunday morning attempting to serve a warrant at a mobile home park in Rushville. He'd been with the department for less than 3 years, but leaves behind a lifelong impression to those he served. Students at Northwestern Elementary in Howard County said Monday that they prayed for him.
We really don't know him as Deputy Kuntz. We know him as Carl.
Kuntz was a resource officer at Northwestern High School for 1.5 years.
He was the type of person who would drop everything that he had to do if someone else needed help. Loved coming to school, loved seeing the kids. In fact, he really considered Northwestern students as his kids, even before he had his own child.
Schoaf says Kuntz would go as far as to pull kids who had family trouble into his office to help them think of him more as a friend than an official figure.
You could tell they missed him. He was supposed to work these past 2 days, and the kids knew it because he always told them when he'd be back. Sorry. He was a friend of mine too.
And he was a friend to many throughout the community. Blue ribbons are tied to telephone and light poles in his honor. His patrol car is covered with special tokens of thanks and well wishes.
You know, we're going to go through a grieving process as a community. That has begun, but we also have to, maintain stability, and so we're doing what we can within the city police department to help take calls, especially the next day or two as they were trying to, other officers were wanting to be with the family.
Flags across the state are flying at half staff. Governor Pence ordered the tribute for the slain officer.
Our hearts and prayers go out to his family, to Cassie and Noah, and go out to his extended family, friends, and especially his law enforcement family that is feeling the loss this morning in particular.
The suspect is 25-year-old Evan Dorsey. Investigators say Dorsey shot Kuntz and Sergeant Jordan Buckley and then turned the gun on himself and died. Buckley was released from IU Health Methodist Hospital Monday afternoon and walks with a limp after taking a bullet in the leg. He was able to ride in the procession that took Kuntz's body from Indianapolis back to Kokomo. Hundreds lined the highway to pay their respects. Sheriff Steve Rogers says it's the first time in 46 years an officer was killed in Howard County on the job. Kuntz is survived by his wife and an 8-month-old son, Noah. The visitation for Deputy Carl Kuntz is scheduled for Monday afternoon at Northwestern High School. The funeral will be Tuesday at 11 a.m. at the high school as well. Sergeant Buckley credits Kuntz for saving his life and says he is eternally grateful. Now for headlines, we go over to Barbara Brosier, who has the latest on this week's top stories.
Thanks, Joe. Police found a body that resembles 1-year-old Shaylin Ammerman last night. The toddler went missing from the home her grandmother and father shared in Spencer this week. Police arrested 22-year-old Kyle Parker in her disappearance. They aren't saying much about him, though, including what formal charges he might face. Parker was at the home the night Shaylin went missing. State police say they are continuing their investigation and could make more arrests in the coming days. A new VA clinic at Camp Atterbury will help connect veterans to much-needed medical care. As Harrison Wagner reports, veterans learned more this week about the services they'll be able to take advantage of.
It was standing room only as a throng of veterans packed a meeting room at the Columbus City Hall on Wednesday. They gathered to hear about the new services provided at the Wakeman Clinic. With the help of staff members, veterans even signed up for appointments. They asked questions ranging from what care is provided at the Wakeman Clinic to what health benefits spouses receive. Jenny Kreisman is the medical center director for the Wakeman Clinic and led the discussion. She is pleased a center of this nature is finally opening up closer to local vets.
I think any time when we miss the opportunity to provide services to our veterans, it's overdue. But is it the right time? Yes. It just happened to be that the current climate within the healthcare program and the DOD and the ability to create a partnership with our DOD representatives allowed us to bring this clinic together.
Ron Bailiff served in the Navy in Vietnam. He received a kidney transplant and has needed medical care ever since.
Now we have Wakeman. It will be more convenient for me, and I think most of the guys in Jennings County anyway.
Bailiff has 3 children in the Army who are watching the VA closely to make sure veterans are treated well. For Indiana News Desk, I'm Harrison Wagner.
The clinic is already open, but a formal dedication ceremony is scheduled for Wednesday. IBM will be paying money back to Indiana after the state Supreme Court ruled the company breached a contract with the state. In 2006, IBM signed a contract to overhaul the state's welfare system. Former Governor Mitch Daniels canceled the contract early because he was unhappy with IBM's work. The state and IBM then sued each other. The Indiana Supreme Court upheld a ruling that mostly sided with the state, but $50 million will be awarded to IBM. A trial court will determine the amount the state receives. More than 30 people are vying to become president of Ivy Tech. Former Lieutenant Governor Sue Ellspermann is the only candidate to do so publicly. Applicants come from in and outside of Indiana. A finalist could be named as early as April. The Indiana Department of Education is looking for schools to pilot I-STEP questions. Wawasee Community School and Fort Wayne schools both said no. The districts say it's simply too much time taken away from instruction. The Department of Education says the pilot tests are necessary to see if a test is statistically reliable and gathering the right information. Honda is planning to invest more than $50 million in its Greensburg facility. The money will go towards producing the Honda CR-V. Production is expected to start next year and create as many as 100 jobs. A Purdue fraternity will be closing its doors until 2020. The university suspended Sigma Phi Epsilon for violations of alcohol, hazing, and unregistered functions. The fraternity was already on probation due to incidents involving illegal drugs. This is the third fraternity on Purdue's campus to be suspended in the last year. The IU men's basketball team is in Philadelphia getting ready to face North Carolina in the Sweet 16. JD Gray reports.
Tonight's game is the first time the two teams have met in the NCAA tournament in more than 3 decades. North Carolina goes into the game tonight as a top seed in the East region. IU is seeded 5th. Coach Tom Crean says the teams are similar and the Hoosiers will have to play with an extra edge.
And knowing that against especially a team like Carolina, of all the teams that are in that tournament right now, they're the ones that thrive on the 40-minute game the most because of the way they beat people in the second half. Well, we've done the same thing, and we've got to be really good at that.
The Hoosiers are the underdogs in tonight's matchup, but Crean says his team is comfortable under pressure and he's not worried about them.
I mean, the whole bottom line, if you spend too much time thinking about the stage you're on or thinking about where you're at and thinking about who's watching, you get away then from what's most important, which is to stop that team.
If the Hoosiers win tonight, they will play again this weekend in the Elite Eight. For Indiana News Desk, I'm JD Gray.
And the IU women, they're already finished with tournament play after losing to Notre Dame in the Sweet 16.
All right, thank you very much, Barbara. Now, before we end, though, take a look at this video. The Indianapolis Zoo is celebrating the birth of a baby orangutan. Both mother and child are healthy. Isn't that cute?
Adorable.
And that's the end of this program, but our work continues online as we cover the news throughout the week at WTIUnews.org. Have a great weekend.
Indiana News Desk is made possible in part by the following: IU Health Southern Indiana physicians, primary care and specialty care providers, now accepting new patients in Bloomington and throughout South Central Indiana. SIphysicians.org, IU Center for Applied Cybersecurity Research, working to improve cybersecurity and provide policy guidance through partnerships with industry, government, and academia.
Smithville Fiber, the Gigacity Company, fiber internet, HD, and digital IPTV in Southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com.
And by WTIU members. Thank you.